how to work with different types of people, because everyone has different priorities and what they're looking for. And so that's really shaped that for me. You could have the greatest product in the world, but if there's no product market fit, or if there's no customer that wants to buy your product, you just have an idea. The challenges are going to be there, but the key is really developing those relationships. Don't be afraid to reach out, because there's a lot of people out there that want to help you. They want to help good people.
What specifically in the corporate sales that you're actually applying to entrepreneurship?
I would say,
hey, I'm excited about today's guest. Her name is Maritza Murray, and she's an entrepreneur. She's currently working. She's had experience in sales, operations, and a bunch of other things. And she's bringing all together to build her business. I'm sure our conversation will be amazing. So I request you, and I urge you to take a look at it, because you're going to learn quite a few things from today's conversation. Extremely excited. Enjoy Maritza's thoughts and process. Hey Maritza, good morning.
good morning.
How have you been today?
Good. It's bright and early.
Bright and early. I heard you had some traffic on the way.
Yes. Yeah, as always.
As always. So welcome to Small Business Spotlight from Business Klub, and we're excited to have you. I just heard your story a little while ago, and I'm excited to see what you got to share with our audience.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So just walk us through your background and what your journey has been. Where were you born? Where you raised, and all of that good story that you can share with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Massachusetts on a snowy day. And pretty much raised in Massachusetts until high school. So in high school, we moved down to Florida. I went to high school in Florida and college at Florida State.
From Massachusetts to Florida, it's a temperature change.
Much different, yeah. Much more humidity, much hotter. But my parents, it was a good move for my family. We wanted kind of just better work-life balance from parents. It was better financially to move down to Florida. So I did high school and college there, and then I knew I wanted to be in a big city when I graduated, so I got my degree in business marketing. And I looked at jobs. I actually looked at jobs in Charlotte as well at the time. Yeah. Back in college, I was in a business fraternity. And so we used to go to different cities every semester and tour companies. And we came to Charlotte a few times to tour Bank of America and some other companies here. Yeah. And I fell in love with the city. I loved it. But I applied to jobs in Charlotte and Boston, Boston being closer to where I was from, Massachusetts, and ended up getting a job in Boston. So I headed up to Boston, not knowing many people at all. My cousin was up there, but I hadn't talked to her in years since we were kids. And I had a friend from middle school that was there, but didn't know many people. Ended up working for Enterprise Rent-A-Car right out of college. So that was a great experience. A lot of hours. I worked in all the city offices, so very fast pace, but it was a great foundation for the start of my career. I would say it's a mix of sales, service, and operations. You really need to know all facets of the business to have a successful operation at Enterprise. And then from there, kind of my career really took off in sales. So I got into management in the gym industry. And then after that, I kind of got back. There was a stint where I was doing technology staffing. So got back into technology staffing on the sales side. And that's what brought me actually back down to Charlotte. So awesome. I opened an office for our Boston company in Charlotte. Okay. Yeah. So big move to come down here, but I wanted to be closer to my family in Florida and, maybe a little nicer weather.
Yeah, of course. I love Charlotte. I always say it's heaven on earth.
Yeah, it's a really nice mix of everything. So I like being close to the mountains and be able to hike and do outdoorsy things, and then also being in a city as well. So that's what took me down here. And then from there, and I've always been in sales, but just different areas and industries. So I got into Marriott and started on their innovation, in an innovation hotel for Marriott. So I got to plan events and sales around this new concept space for Marriott. And that's really what started my career in innovation. I got furloughed in the pandemic. So I left Marriott and started with another Boston company. I got into robotics in Boston.
You love it, Boston.
I love Boston. There's just, I had a conversation with someone about this the other day. There's just so much energy in Boston. That's what I love most about it. You meet people from all over that are doing such fascinating things.
It's about the party.
What was that?
Party, Boston Tea Party.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. And so, yeah, I just, the energy is contagious.
Right.
And that's what I think I always gravitated towards in Boston. But I worked remotely for that robotics company. And then that really just led me to where I am today with the current robotics company I'm with. We manufacture drones and pressure washing robots. Yeah, and they're for cleaning purposes. So we make window cleaning drones.
Oh, wow.
For our business.
The big...
for sky rises
buildings,
and corporate buildings. Yeah. And then kind of to pivot a little bit to my entrepreneurship career, I started my company in fashion back in 2020. And it was before the pandemic started, before we knew what was going to happen with the world. It was early in January. Right. And I took a very long pause, I will say, because of everything that happened. So I really just started my business, and I'll dive more into that. Yeah. But I started my business, I would say, about 1 or 2 years ago, where I really started sourcing manufacturers and doing things along those lines. So cool. It's been a mix of everything, but sales has really been my formative career and what's gotten me here today.
Cool. So you worked in sales, robotics, and hospitality, and now you're into luxury footwear.
Yes.
That's awesome. So how has that changed your perspective towards, maybe entrepreneurship?
At the time, so I started my degree actually at Florida State in fashion design. Okay. And that's actually why I chose Florida State. It was a good mix of everything. I wanted a big state school that had access to all these other majors where I could minor in something if I wanted to, but I wanted to concentrate in design. And so I started my career or my years of college in that, and the first 2 years were all fashion design related courses and content. So got a good base, but I decided I wanted to switch to business marketing. And when I graduated, it was 2009, so the economy wasn't the best, so they were cutting a lot of marketing programs, and that's what led me into sales. But sales has been instrumental, I think, in forming the company and the company I want to develop. It's really taught me a lot about resiliency.
Right, absolutely.
And you hear no a lot. I remember one of my first, even working at Enterprise, I didn't know much about sales, and I had to be thrown into a lot of situations where it's like you have to learn how to sell, or you have to learn how to work with different types of customers. The nice thing about Enterprise is I worked at different offices, so I got to work with everything from corporate customers to government employees who just needed car rentals maybe for a few hours. It was in and out, very transactional. And then you worked with dealerships where they'd get loaner cars from Enterprise, so like Porsche, Saab, like Audi, like high-end dealerships too. And it was nice because I got to work with all different types of people. And really that showed me the power not only of relationships and forming those for the future, because we did have a lot of repeat customers. It also showed me how to work with different types of people, because everyone has different priorities and what they're looking for. And so that's really shaped that for me. And then moving into innovation and technology and robotics, it's opened my mind to a lot. So the nice thing about being in this industry is I get to go to conferences where you see the latest tech, you see the latest materials they're working on. It really opens your mind, which is really nice. And so with starting a fashion brand, a luxury fashion brand, I always knew that I wanted to have the craftsmanship, and I wanted to prioritize that because I've always been about quality and brands. I've worked for very large brands like Marriott and Enterprise, and I've seen the power of a good brand, but I've also worked for startups. So I've seen the other side.
The agile. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had a good mix of everything, and it's really helped mold me to who I am today and how I approach sales, especially with my company. So I am very relationship based, and I've always been great at connecting with people. So connection and relationships are going to be a big part of my company.
Awesome. So explain to me what specifically in the corporate sales that you're actually applying to entrepreneurship. Is anything special?
So multiple things, I would say. It's everything from knowing your customer, knowing the industry you want to go after. So you really kind of have to do a deep dive. When you have a product, you could have the greatest product in the world. But if there's no product market fit, or if there's no customer that wants to buy your product, you just have an idea. And that's great. But it's not going to make you money. And ultimately, you need to have some sustainable lifestyle, salary coming in to maintain your business. So seeing how sales has really I look at everything from a numbers perspective or a goal perspective. So it's really helped in terms of building the company, because even the first year, I'm like, I need to get to X, or, I have all the Excel spreadsheets of how much I need to hit break even. So, and enterprise too taught me that, because we do, with businesses, you have to, with owning or having an office, you have to manage your P&Ls, and you have to look at your operating expenses and utilization of the cars on the road. You have to have X amount of cars so you're the most profitable. And you realize metrics. Metrics. It's all metrics based. And you realize that even by renting a car, if you rent a full-size car per se, we would do upgrade options. So if we rent it for $1 or $2 more a day and you upgrade them into a different class vehicle, that small increment could substantially change your business. So sales has taught me that from a baseline, if you have your metrics to start with, you just make small tweaks here and there, and you can really capitalize on that. Yep.
And sometimes they call it the upsell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The upsells are the actually profitable things that you do in business. Anyway, great. So I know you launched a luxury high heel footwear brand. Why?
Why? Yes, great question. So when I was really young, growing up, I sewed a lot actually with my grandma, both my grandmas. So I fell in love with just creating, and I didn't know how much of an impact that would actually make on me until I got to high school. When I was in high school, I was involved in everything. So I was that kid I was in the dance team. We had a modeling club. We had all these honor societies. I was in everything. A little bit of an overachiever. But I realized when it came down to what I wanted to do for school, it was a little bit tough for me because I did like everything. But my parents said I couldn't go to school for dance. That was the one thing that I couldn't go to school for. And I'm surprised they let me go for fashion design because it is a little creative. But I started being really passionate about it. I knew I wanted to create something. And I've always gravitated towards design of sorts. I actually thought about architecture as well because I am a numbers person. So I always like structure, and I do incorporate a lot of structure into my heels too. So you'll see. Okay. Yeah, it's
mathematical.
It's mathematical as much as it is as like creative. So I have fun with that, but I really like that. So when I was younger, it was all the sewing. It was all about, my aunt used to be a little fashionista. We used to, traditions. I remember in Western Massachusetts, we used to go up after church on Sundays. We used to go to her house, and she used to always make breakfast and everything, but she was the cutest. She was my mom's aunt, but she used to wear, high heels all the time, even in her older age, and the cutest little Tommy Hilfiger outfits. And I bonded with her when I was young. So I knew I wanted to do something, and I knew I wanted to create. And I started my degree in fashion design and was switching to business marketing just because I wanted to set myself up for success. And all the years I had my full-time jobs in sales, I was doing things with fashion. So my friend has also launched a fashion line. I was working for his fashion line, just behind the scene, part-time. But we did New York Fashion Week. I would go to fashion shows with him. I would help more of the operation side, so more of like coordinating the models and casting the models, and a lot of the decisions when it came to color and materials and fabric. So a lot of those decisions. And so I've always done something with it. I always knew it was going to happen. For me personally, being in the business world, I always dressed up. So I always liked heels because of how much they empowered me and made me feel confident. So I wanted every woman to feel that experience, except comfortably. So that's a big element of my shoes. There are so many high heels on the market that aren't comfortable. And even the most expensive ones, they sometimes don't sell comfort at all. And so I wanted a good mix of that craftsmanship and the comfort.
So it's mathematically, creatively comfortable
Yes.
high heel shoes.
With future technologies involved in it and experience, because I've always been about customer experience.
Awesome. By the way, I just met, I don't know, have you heard of Rita Miles?
I don't
She's, have you heard of Charlotte Scene?
Yes.
Yeah, so she's the owner of Charlotte Scene.
Yes, Rita. Sorry.
Yeah, Rita, yeah.
Yes.
She was here yesterday.
Oh, was
Not
she?
for
Okay.
a podcast, but for something else. I was actually thinking of maybe I should connect you and.
Yeah, she knows of me from the fashion show, so with my friend's company.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
So we've worked together.
Oh, that's cool. So there's a connection there.
Yes.
Okay, very good. What's been some of your biggest challenges in launching your footwear? Particularly, I'm asking this because there are a lot of young girls or boys who probably want to get into the fashion industry. It might help them if they know what challenges you faced and how did you overcome them.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say I'm going to give you some challenges, but I'm also going to give you some things to do. So I would say the biggest challenge, especially launching or trying to launch in 2020. Before the pandemic happened, 2020, I had this vision, I had this idea for the line. I was still working full time. I only planned on doing this part time at that time. And it was challenging because the pandemic happened. And I knew there wasn't going to be a market need for people to be wearing high heels as much. So I knew I had to put a pause of some sort on the company. During that time, I had all this time because I was furloughed. So I thought I'd just go back to the basics. I did CAD in college and, I could pick it up again. Well, I learned that, it took a lot longer than I thought. And even though I had all this time, you should utilize people for things that of that expertise. So
outsource what you cannot.
And that's what I learned. Yeah, I had to outsource little things, and it was based on the fact that people could do it 1,000 times faster than I could.
Faster and better.
And better, yes. And so that's where I kind of used some of I used to be in staffing, and so I went on LinkedIn and found someone that could take my physical drawings and put them in a 2D version. So I found someone who had expertise in footwear, and he had worked with brands.
Wow.
And so I contracted him. He was out of Spain at the time. We worked together. I mean, it was I interviewed him just to make sure he was a good fit. And that's also very important. You want to work with people that feel like they're a good fit.
Absolutely.
You don't want to just pick the first one. So found him. And then I was going on the track of finding manufacturers. Well, in 2020 and 2021, 2022, it got really tough because the footwear brands that were thriving were the ones that were still putting in the volume orders. So they weren't working with smaller brands because they needed to prove that they could sell the shoes still.
Right.
So it was really challenging finding a manufacturer at
Who would
first.
do it
who would work with a smaller brand, a startup brand, because
and
they
with
had
less MOQ.
Yes, exactly. So when I say I started reaching out and just introducing myself to talk to people, so whether it be podiatrists or whether it be people who had been in the industry, I just started telling everyone that I was doing this, which also you'd be surprised when you start talking about what you do. There's a lot of people in your network that have connections that do something along the lines. So I started meeting people through people that I knew. And then I also ended up finding my manufacturer from a referral. So I was working with a company based, I believe, out of Spain at the time. And I wanted to work with the European region just because of the craftsmanship. So they actually referred me to my current partner in Portugal that I've been working with to manufacture this. So I say this all because the challenges are going to be there. But the key is really developing those relationships. And something like, especially in the luxury industry, especially in fashion, it is very relationship based.
Right.
So you want to be meeting the right people, connecting the right people, but just don't be afraid to reach out because there's a lot of people out there that want to help you. They want to help good people.
That makes a lot of sense because, when I started Business Club and even Chess Club, it's my relationship with, grandmasters that actually helped us grow to the level where we are. Even Business Club, some of those who's who of Charlotte Entrepreneur System actually helped me to launch Business Club properly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Thank you. And so how do you approach your partnerships, and what makes a collaboration successful according to you?
Yeah, I would go back to kind of values and vision and where we align. For me, having that marketing plan up front, I knew from the start I want to work with boutiques. I want to work with corporate partners and less on really direct to consumer. Like I will be doing some direct to consumer, but it's more about the partnerships to
Of
me.
course,
So in my approach, I look at it from a worldview, to be honest, to start. Who are the key people that really stand for my brand as one? So even from an influencer world of sorts, I look at women that have, my shoes stand for empowerment and really confidence and feeling confident in your own body as well. So I look at the people that have really paved the way, females in the world that have gone up the ranks and really hit a lot of adversity, but still got there. So I want to work with those types of people.
So your brand stands for empowerment.
It does. Yeah. It's a very big part of who I am, and it's a big part of my brand. So finding those people who fit that, for me, collaborations also, I think of like even female sports teams that, off the court or off field, they want to look good, feel good. So I'd love to do a unique collection for those types of people. I travel a lot. So if I was to work, I thought about this multiple times, a specific airline or doing a collection for an airline or doing a collection for one of the airlines for their employees. Because also I know how hard it is to find comfortable shoes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but to also look good. So I have
especially during those travel.
Yeah, exactly. And you still want to look good. That's at the end of the day, people want to feel confident. So I look at intentionally finding companies like that and pitching to people like that. But you have to start from who's my audience first? Who do I want to sell to? And then for me, it's just figuring out the best means to communicate with them. I know for some of these companies, it could be an email. For some of these companies, it could be finding someone on LinkedIn that's the best contact. For some, it might be going through their social media channels because that's how they talk to people the most. So just get creative with it. That's the fun part of it.
So, it's a similar question as before. Your experience spans technology, innovation, and business development. So how do you apply these skills in the fashion industry?
Yeah, well, I know, particularly in fashion and certain types of shoes, they haven't evolved in years. And so I go to these tech conferences and see all these new innovations. And then I've been to shoe conferences and they're quite
shoe
different.
Conference too?
There are multiple shoe conferences. They're quite different, I will say. And some are, trying to forge the way for cutting edge technologies. But there was one I went to where the innovation part was just a small stage. And that made me so sad to see, because I do feel like there's so much more innovation that can happen in the fashion industry, and I'm excited to see that, but I also want to be part of that change.
Right.
So having that mindset and what I've seen in other fields is only going to drive my desire to build this in the fashion industry. And I will say, just like in terms of what I'm doing, I want to create creativity, like aesthetic comes first,
of course,
but also the comfort and the technology is in line with that too, I will say. Yeah.
Got it. So what's your vision in the next 5 to 10 years? Who do you want to be?
Yeah, well, I want to be, doing this. I also want to be on stages talking about the power of just feeling confident in your own skin. And I want to do that with my heel brand, but I want my heel brand to be infused with that. So heels.
TED Talk?
I don't know what TikTok is necessarily the thing.
No, TED Talk.
Oh, TED Talk. Of course, a TED Talk would be great. But just really getting in front of the people that really could be impacted by this the most. I want people to feel confident and be able to move up the ranks in their career and get to be their best selves. So I would say for me, it's those strategic partnerships, those partners I want to work with, like the airlines or the sports teams. But also the everyday woman who maybe wasn't going to buy a pair of heels and now realizes the power that a heel can have.
And how about the brand? Where do you see the brand going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Just growing and getting bigger. And I see that the designs, even more designs, even more colors, I guess just growing.
Cool. So let's say, one of my friends who's a 25-year-old looking to start a luxury brand. What advice would you give that person, in today's growing market?
Yeah, so know yourself first. Know why you want to do this.
Why is very important. Start with the why.
Yeah, start with the why. And then really figure out who your audience is. Who are you trying to sell to? And why are you trying to sell this brand to them? And then I would say it goes back to relationships. So start connecting with people. Start talking to people. Start learning more about the industry. For me, I had done stuff with fashion, but footwear was different. So there are a lot of elements of footwear I didn't know. And even specifically within footwear, there are different regions. So not every region that you think of for sneakers makes heels. So there's different factories
like
that
a genre.
specialize
Okay.
in different things. So you have to find the regions. Like this might be a great shoe factory for a company like Nike, but they're not producing high heels.
Yeah.
So you just have to start talking to people and get out of your comfort zone. And I know for some people, sales is not the first thing they want to do. They don't want to, that puts them out of their comfort zone, but just do the things that make you uncomfortable, because eventually you'll feel more comfortable doing them.
Absolutely. Let's shift some gear and let's talk a little bit about the mental side of things that you're doing, to personal growth and things like that. So you're a strong advocate of mental health. And so how do you bring mindfulness and resilience into your business approach?
So like the math I mentioned before that I love, I'm very structured in my day-to-day. So there's elements of my day-to-day that I know from science is helpful, but I also know from personal experience is helpful. So I time block a lot. And for me, movement and workouts are a meeting. So they're on my calendar. They're color-coded. They've got a time every day, or at least like around that. But mindfulness too, I do 10 minutes of meditation a day at least, so at minimum. And I say this as a standard. I'm not perfect, so there's days where I'll miss it, but it happens, so give yourself grace. But that also just kind of the way even for me, things as simple as food can change the way you feel throughout the day. So just being mindful of what you're putting in your body is also huge. But I say I just structure it like I do my work day. So it's on my calendar and it deserves a place.
Absolutely. So you have a background in neuroscience?
Yeah, I've taken a lot of courses in that.
Okay. How has that influenced the way you handle stress and decision making?
So it makes you realize when you get heightened stress in certain situations. There's breathing techniques or regulation exercises you can do. There's also a lot about neuroscience that you can definitely apply to business. So simple things. There's something, have you heard of the Pomodoro timer? Before? Yeah. So simple things like that. Like you can have an app in your background just running. So where you take these breaks. So you'll work for 25 minutes or do a 25-minute meeting, 5-minute break. It does so much for your brain. The same with meditation. There's been so many studies that show that just by meditating, you're releasing more, you could be more creative. So you're going to think outside the box. Visualization is also a huge one. I know you study athletes, you study people in certain positions, you realize they're all visualizing this. They've all seen this beforehand, and your brain is so interesting. So if you set yourself a goal, say the goal is to hit $20,000 in sales this month, your brain doesn't really need to know how to get there, but you've set this goal as 20,000. So your brain's going to figure out every possible way to get there. So I think those are the simplified version of all the neuroscience you can add into your daily routine, but it's extremely helpful. And it's helpful because you want to place your energy in the right places. So at the end of the day, when you're doing all these things, you're regulating your energy.
Absolutely. So, what kind of daily habits do you do to maintain those balance and energy as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So again, it's remembering when it gets busy that you still need to do all these little things
Yeah,
like work out. Movement is very important to me. So I used to coach fitness classes, but
interesting.
yeah, so I started when I was in management in the gym industry. It's actually funny how I got involved in this because I used to dance growing up. And
Okay,
then I still stayed with fitness. So in college, I would run, do weights. I wouldn't say anything crazy, but I would still stay active. And then when I got into management in the gym industry, at one point, I remember I was working at the regional headquarters and our group X directors and our folks from New York corporate would always come in. I mentioned at one point to my group X director that I was just interested in fitness, and he was so excited for me. It was like
yeah,
the happiest day in the world. And I remember him saying, I think you'd be amazing at this. Like, I
right.
fully support you. And the program I used to teach, it was called Body Pump. I got certified. I have over 6 certifications and different things, like everything from bar classes to spin to P90X to
Wow.
all the type insanity, everything. But Body Pump I really liked because um, fundamentally it structures you so well for other things. So you learn different layers of coaching. You learn that, it starts with maybe the cue of the exercise, what you're doing.
Right.
And then you go into the deeper cues. So you go into, okay, now you're going to go down and feel this. And then you go into other cues to coach people. So going back to the original question, I forget where we were.
So we were asking what are the daily habits
The
that
daily
you do?
habits. Yeah. So I would say fitness has just been such an important part of my life. And when I stopped coaching, I knew I needed to do it because I needed more time. It did take a lot of my energy, although I
Right.
loved it. But I knew I'd be doing this on bigger stages. So I knew I'd be coaching on bigger stages, maybe not in the fitness capacity,
Right.
but with people and inspiring them.
Got it. Got it.
Mhm.
So when you were in entrepreneurship, you have a lot of self doubt and say, "Can I make it?
Yeah.
Can I do this?" So how do you stay competitive and present in this market?
Yeah, and I will say that's a big challenge because you often, especially someone like me who's very visionary and looking at the future, you can get lost in the future. You can get lost in everything that will be one day. So you could really have to ground yourself. I think that's where the meditation
Yeah.
and things like that help. But I would say, kind of going back, there's a couple things. So you got to remember your strengths and you got to capitalize on those. So over time, say it's something like, I know I'm good at connecting with people. So I look at that as just a baseline. Like I've found that I, seem to connect with people well, and it's
Yeah.
a good attribute. But then I look at how can I strengthen that. So maybe it's reading books on body language. So,
Right.
I might be great at talking to people, but maybe if I could read their body language, I'd be even better. Or there's an intuitive piece to that. So capitalize on your strengths, because in the times of doubt, you can always fall back in your strengths. I know I'm good at this. And then again, don't get overwhelmed with all that could be. You really have to work in the day to day. I mean, someone told me once, when you're on a road trip, like you can't see the destination.
No.
So, if you're
So much.
yeah, you can only see what your headlights show in front
Right.
of you. And you just have to remember that, because ultimately, like I said, with the brain techniques, your brain knows you need to get here. Your brain's
Right.
going to figure out a way. But just don't get lost in all the details, because that's when you feel overwhelmed. And that's when you feel a lot of pressure. And trust me, it's possible, because you get these exciting conversations. I had a conversation with someone about marketing, and it was a great conversation. We were talking about all these ideas and all these people I had to reach out to. And then in a moment, I was like, all these people I have to reach out to are really powerful people. And I'm
Right.
like, how am I going to do this? And so that's when I kind of had to ground myself and be like, okay, this is maybe not step one.
Yeah.
Step one is writing the email, or step
Right.
one is figuring out the plan to
One
reach
step
out
at
to
a
these
time,
people.
yeah.
So I think that's the easiest way. And then hear other people's stories. So there's so many people that have been through a lot. So you got to realize you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Let's just go back, rewind a few years. And if you were to give yourself, your younger self some advice, what would that be?
You don't have to have it all figured out.
Things will fall in place as you go along.
Yes, I think, I learned that probably later than I should have. I remember asking one of my directors, this was maybe 8 years ago, how did you, he seemed like he's done so well and he moved from sales into operations. I'm like, how did you know? Like, how did you know that you wanted to be here? And he's like, I still don't know. Like, I still don't have it figured out. And I remember that moment, like, being like, oh, like, not everyone's got it figured out.
Right.
And then you talk to your parents and you're like, how did you know? Like, like, even when you had me, like, you guys were ready. We didn't know. Like, you figure it out. And I've heard that so much. And you just have to remember, you don't have to have it all figured out.
It has got its own time and place to figure it themselves out. Good. Let's talk a little bit about health, fitness, and wellness. You have a background in fitness and wellness. How has that shaped your approach to leadership and business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, in so many ways. So I know, even from a scientific standpoint, working out does so much for the brain. So it's been shown to be more powerful than SSRIs, in terms of working out and getting your body moving. So if you can take something that doesn't involve drugs and, empower yourself through fitness, it's medicine in itself.
Right.
So there's that. I would say there's so many things I've learned, even with coaching. So when you coach, there's different types of people respond differently, different coaching cues.
Yeah.
So there's everything from maybe they need to see it visually, but maybe they need to hear it. But then maybe there's some people in the room that are kinesthetic learners and they just need to feel it and feel the movement. So you learn there's different ways to coach people. Okay. And then you also learn there's different ways to get results. So even with fitness, if you're trying for muscle gains and hypertrophy, you're doing less reps than you would for like long, lean muscle. And you realize there's different programs. So I go back to baseline. There's a baseline to start everything, even with nutrition. Something like macronutrients is the ratio of proteins to carbs to fats. You realize you get to a baseline, then you go to a maintenance, and then that's when you can make little tweaks here and there. And if you up your carbs, it will do this to your body. So I say this all because there's so many parts of fitness that really do translate to business, because you realize just start somewhere and then you can add on and tweak things.
Get to a baseline, and from there, just take the next step and improve those metrics.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Metrics. Love metrics.
Love metrics. So what are the things that you incorporate into your fitness routine that actually helps you while managing your business?
I do. So I've done more yoga now for mindfulness, and strength training has always been huge. And I will say, for people that don't do fitness and maybe fitness is foreign to you, start with something like group classes, because group classes are great for community as well as learning the basics.
Yeah.
So it's less intimidating. That's why I love coaching group classes, because some people come into the gym, they get overwhelmed. Again, they don't know what they're doing or where to start.
Right.
And when you don't know where to start, it's really overwhelming.
Yeah.
So something like a group class, you're getting programmed to do certain things, and you learn how to do exercises, and then you can do it on your own. So for me, it's really, blocking that time on my calendar and prioritizing it every day. So as important as it is to work on my business from X time to X time, it's just as important to get my fitness routine in for the day and movement.
Got it. So what's your go-to routine for high performance and mental clarity? I know you mentioned meditation. Anything else?
Meditation, eating right. I know I'm going to give everyone the world, and they're going to be like, well, where do I start? Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where I'd say to start. So for a lot of people, no one ever complains about getting a great night's rest. Like, oh, that was, I got a great night's rest. But people will complain about getting to the gym and doing that. So start with just getting a good night's rest consistently. So that can do so much for your mind in itself. So sleep, I would say, is the place to start. Meditation, I use an app called Insight Timer. I love it. It's great because it's got just silence if you want silence, but it's also got meditations and practices. That's important. Again, with nutrition, just being mindful. So eating mindfully. You realize, and I do this a lot, I'll cut things out to add things back in. So when you cut your diet to a certain just baseline of I'm going to eat whole foods for 3 weeks or so, you realize when you add certain things back in your diet, how much it impacts your energy levels, and you realize also how much it impacts the way you feel.
Got it. Okay. So do you believe there is a connection between fashion and confidence?
100%. Yeah, I know that, and this is, I believe confidence literally starts from the ground up. So from your heels, from your feet. Yeah.
Literally the ground up.
Literally the ground up. Yeah. And it really has to do, that's why I say it's a holistic mind, body, soul thing. You have to do it all. Like you have to, I knew even for my company, I didn't want to start a company unless I had the foundation. And I know all these elements will go into my company in some way, shape, or form, because foundation is the most important thing. At your core, like if your core is not great, your body's not going to be great. So I look at that even from your brain standpoint. If there's things going on in your brain, it's going to affect your daily habits. So there's definitely a correlation between fashion and confidence. And the nice thing is, and this is something I wanted to give back to everyone I will be working with in future with my heels, I was always able to wear something unique that might not have been the most expensive thing in the world, but people would be like, oh, I love your shirt. Like, where did you get it? And it's something as simple as like changing a color that someone likes or changing a texture that someone likes. And I always wanted to give that to other people because I knew how empowering that was to go out and, you could start your day. It could start off not right. You could be in traffic. You could have like spilled your coffee on the way in the morning. But like if you walk in and you feel great walking into work with the heels you have on, you get one compliment.
Yeah, your day is made.
You're like, great.
Terrific. So how does your shoes really empower women?
So I put a lot of comfort in, and that was important to me because there's 4 different layers of comfort. It's not just a basic heel. And that's why it's taken so long too in terms of development. It's taken me 2 rounds of samples, a couple years to get this product right. But it's done thoughtfully and meticulously for the reasons that I travel. I love traveling. And I want people to feel confident in all the steps they have. So for me, it's about building something and making you feel great to start and then building upon that.
Great. So great answers, by the way. We are actually getting into a next round of questions. It's called the rapid fire.
Okay.
Even though it's rapid fire, we're not going to fire at you.
Okay.
You can take your time. And if you think it's going to take longer, feel free to do so.
Okay.
So morning routine must have.
The biggest thing I would say is fill your mind with good things first thing. For me, it's when I wake up, when I'm getting ready, I try to put on either a motivational speech or a church sermon or read the Bible, something that's good to fill your brain because your brain is so susceptible in those first few hours.
Yeah. Cool. So do you read books?
I do. I love books.
What's your favorite book that actually changed your perspective?
So that's a hard one because I have a lot of books and I wouldn't say anything, it's only just heightened my perspective of everything. But I love Eckhart Tolle, and I would say A New Earth is a really good one.
By?
Eckhart Tolle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's got a few good ones, so it's not just that one.
That's cool. Coffee or tea?
Coffee, but I do love tea.
Well, any favorite flavor?
Of tea? Lemon ginger.
Lemon ginger.
Yeah, it's like my go-to night tea.
Any brand?
Nah, I don't have a brand preference. Yeah.
Best piece of business advice that you ever received?
Know a lot about one thing and enough about everything else to be dangerous.
That's cool. And when do you work, between 9 to 5 or 9 to 8 or what?
It's usually my full-time job, it's 8 to 5.
Yeah, but then on your business from.
Oh, yeah. So it's, I work with a manufacturer in Portugal. So it's early morning.
Oh,
so
wow.
7 a.m.s or if we do calls, but weekends mainly. Yeah.
So how do you unwind after a long day?
So I would say some fitness related thing. Hot yoga is nice, but it's usually on the couch with the TV off. Actually, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, there'll be like weeks where I don't even turn on the TV.
I kind of subscribe to your thought as well.
Yeah.
It's been about 15 years that I've stopped watching news.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's good in itself.
Yeah,
And I tell people all the time, I get enough news from social media that
yeah,
I know what's going on.
Headlines are good enough.
Yeah.
Yep, cool. A quote that keeps you going.
So this is a powerful one to me because it's actually, I have a podcast on mental health and it's the title of the podcast, but it's a quote by MLK Jr. And it's, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter."
Wow, That's awesome. I know the answer to the next one, but I'll still ask you, heels or sneakers?
Definitely heels, but I do love sneakers too because I work out all the time.
Of course,
so
yeah.
Shoes in general. Can I just say shoes
Yes,
in general?
yes. Shoes are great. It grounds you.
Yes, it grounds you.
Cool. Most unexpected skill that you've picked up in your career?
How to identify good leaders. Because I've seen bad leaders and I've seen great leaders. So it's just interesting once you move up in your career, you see what really works and you see what builds great companies.
How do you identify?
How do I identify? So a lot of it is team mentality, and it's fitting. Yeah, it's being a team player. That's a big one to get good leaders in there. See, it's very intuitive now. I'm trying to think. What are the things?
Confidence.
Just people belittling people to get to certain positions, or people kind of shutting out people in the room and not having a comprehensive approach to things.
Right.
Or siloing conversations. These are all bad leadership qualities.
Absolutely. So, your favorite travel destination?
So I feel like I can still travel the world so much. So I have so much to explore. By the way, I love traveling. Being on a plane just makes me happy. I feel like I was a bird in a past life sometimes because I'm I love the skies. But I would say Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver?
Yeah, it was amazing. I did a solo trip out there and flew into Vancouver and absolutely loved everything about it. The food, the people, the nature. I biked around. It was great.
Cool. What's more important, passion or strategy?
Passion, because I don't know, if you don't have passion about something, it's also, I don't think we'll really connect because I'm very passionate about what I do. So I like seeing that in other people.
So I have a friend of mine. I'll see one of the podcasts. His name is Steve Gatter. He's right here in Charlotte, and he's very well connected with the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Charlotte. And one of the things that he preaches and practices is a concept called Ikigai.
Okay.
Ikigai is basically being passionate about what you want to do in life, and then something that actually helps people, like in your case, empowering women.
Yes.
And making money doing so. So your Ikigai is high heels.
Yes.
Right. So very, very important. Cool. A great answer. If you had to describe yourself in one word, what would that be? One word.
Yeah, I know. This is hard. I have so many words. Uplifting.
Cool. And yeah, that makes sense, right? You're uplifting women too.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that when I said it, but
that's appropriate. Actually, that could be a good tagline, uplift yourself.
Yes, could be.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
First job you ever had?
Oh, I worked at Burger King.
No, Burger King.
Yes.
We didn't hear about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it.
Well, I remember applying to, this was when we had paper resumes. I walked
Yeah.
into places and I remember hearing or trying, I don't know why it was a lot harder to find a job. I also applied for a job the moment I could. So I think I might have been 15 and a half, like when I applied. But I worked for Burger King, and honestly, I worked drive-through. I managed everything. It was fun. It was very fast-paced Burger King too. But I did well. They wanted to promote me, but I wanted to go to college, so.
I heard, and I think it's either Wendy's or Burger King, that when you do the drive-through, you're expected to have serve that person like 3 minutes or 1 minute or something of that.
We were very big on our drive-through timers,
really?
yeah. So you had to have it under like a certain amount, or corporate would hear, I believe. Yeah, it was a little stressful, but it honestly made you become more efficient. So you learn how to do things fast, and I think that prepared me only for all my other jobs that I had.
Oh wow. Yeah, but I like the CVS drive-throughs where they actually ask a question. They sometimes they have a conversations.
Oh yeah.
That seems to be never ending.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I don't think Burger King can do that.
They need to flip more burgers.
Yes,
for sure. What motivates you more, confidence, competition, or creativity?
Creativity.
Okay.
Yeah, I find myself gravitating towards a lot of creatives. I've been to places, and I think this is why I love traveling so much, because you get to see different cultures and experience different things. I remember one of the times I was out in LA. I used to dance growing up, so of course after my friend's wedding, I was like, "Who wants to go to this dance class with me?" Because there's a studio out in LA that does hip hop classes, and I really wanted to go because I've been following them on Instagram. No one really wanted to come with me, but that's okay. Like, I understand. But I say this because I loved the fact it was not only a studio that was doing the choreography, and it was great choreography. They had this gentleman in the back just doing beats and drums. So, like, between while we were doing just rehearsals, he would just make beats and, like, do the beats to the music. And I loved that. I love creative people and endeavors.
Nice. A habit you swear by?
That's a good question. Probably, well, I'd go back to fitness. It does so much for your body.
One thing people often get wrong about you?
That I mean, I haven't heard it as much nowadays, but some people would say I'm like, only think there's like sunshine and rainbows out in the world, and I'm too positive about things, but I say this all, I've been through a lot. Personally, I've lost a lot of important people in my life. And so I'm very resilient, and I've seen a lot. So when people say that, they just don't know me.
Yeah, but you are positive, which is good.
Yeah.
So you're creating that vibe in the environment, which is really, really good.
Yeah, I think the thing I don't want people to think is that I'm not tough, because I have been through some stuff.
Of course. Tech gadget that you can't live without.
I probably, and I could probably get rid of, that sounds wild, but I could get rid of a lot of tech. But I would say probably my iPhone, just because I use it on a daily basis for video, for apps, for financing, for everything.
Cool. If you were in business, what would you be doing?
Probably just traveling the world. I love traveling. And
I
love
making money.
Well, did I need to make money?
That's right.
I guess, yeah. It's like, if I needed to make money, yeah. Be traveling the world. I'd be, and someone actually, and this is a spin to this question, someone actually asked, like, if you only had 30 days left, like, what would you be doing? And it was very clear to me. Like, I would be out on the road trying to inspire people and just build them up. That's what I'd be doing.
Uplifting.
But I'd be traveling, yes.
Cool. Your go-to comfort food?
Oh, mac and cheese. I love mac and cheese. But actually, when I was a child, I loved the Kraft mac and cheese, the box one.
Right.
And I still do love the box mac and cheese.
Amazing. You're trying to build something big and to empower women. What's the legacy that you want to build?
I want to inspire people with my words and with what I'm doing. But I also want people to realize that once you go back to your core and your true self, the best version of you will come out.
Awesome. Maritza, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming here.
Of course.
I'm sure Our audience would love to hear more of you. So we'll invite you more, and I look
Thank you.
forward to having many more conversations.
Thank you. This is
Thank
great.
you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
What a great conversation I had with Maritza and her journey from being in sales operations and how she's bringing that to her entrepreneurship, which is basically empowering women by providing high-end luxury heels. She's also a mental health advocate, and I really love touching those points and getting to know her quite a bit. So if you enjoyed the conversation, put your comments in the comment box below, and I look forward to bringing in more similar guests in the future. Meanwhile, have a great day and look forward to our next conversation.